This week in Weird News, July 13 through 17, 2025. Welcome to Klepper's Corner, This Week in Weird, the show that reminds you the world's not just on fire, it's doing backflips into the absurd while dressed like a pigeon dipped in green paint. Yes, in a news cycle dominated by collapsing democracies, looming AI overlords, and the occasional billionaire space tantrum, we sometimes forget that the real head-scratchers come from the everyday moments where reality politely excuses itself and leaves us with something truly bonkers. So let's take a break from existential dread and dive into the deep, sticky, squirrel-infested end of the week that was July 13th to 17th. From sinking cities and tortoise cops to bears committing burglary and a raccoon with a soup can for a helmet, this was a weird one, folks. So buckle up, or don't. It's not like it helped the guy who got stuck in a chimney. Let's start with something global. Segment 1, the cities that are slowly sinking into oblivion. In case your existential dread needed a new chapter, cities around the world are sinking. Not figuratively, literally. Like your hopes for a stress-free Monday. Mexico City, sinking up to 20 inches a year. That's not urban development, that's geological depression. Even parts of Seattle and New York are gradually sinking into the ground like someone slowly microwaving the Sim City map. Experts call it a slow-motion crisis, which is comforting because at least it's not a sudden one. Think of it like quicksand, but bureaucratic and property taxable. The cause? Well, human activity, of course, mainly draining groundwater and the weight of pretending every Starbucks has to be 4 stories tall. This is the only crisis where real estate values go down while the buildings do too. Segment 2, Wyoming coal mine full of everything but coal. Wyoming opened its first new coal mine in 50 years, but the big twist, they don't want the coal. That's right, this is like opening a pizza shop for the free Wi-Fi. The real prize is rare earth elements hiding above and below the coal seams. Turns out what we thought was the product is now just packaging. Coal is basically the crusty wrapper on the lithium-flavored nougat of the tech world. The mine hopes to produce over 1,200 tons of rare earth oxides annually. That's enough to power millions of smartphones, electric cars, and at least 3 YouTubers' dreams of going viral, explaining how it all causes male pattern baldness. We've reached the point where even coal mines are ashamed of coal. What's next? Oil wells apologizing for being sticky? Segment 3, Squirrel Blackout. The tiny terror strikes again. And in proof that size means nothing when it comes to chaos, a squirrel took out power to part of a town by chewing through critical equipment. Again, we've entered a timeline where the most terrifying domestic terrorist is a rodent with commitment issues. This is not the first time, and it won't be the last. Squirrels are responsible for more power outages in the U.S. than hackers, hurricanes, or your uncle who insists on fixing the breaker himself. We build complex electrical grids with billions in infrastructure, and one rodent named Chippy decides we don't deserve electricity today. Somewhere in the woods, a squirrel militia is plotting our downfall one transformer at a time. Segment 4, the $8,000 Cubat Kit, now with less affordability. And speaking of electricity, what if your child wants to become a space engineer? Well, good news, there's a new CubeSat simulator educational kit available for the low price of $8,000. That's right, space is for everyone who already owns a Tesla and a second home in Aspen. The CubeSat comes with books, a simulator, and even real space-flown artifacts, because nothing says hands-on learning like a $7,000 souvenir you're too afraid to touch. We've officially entered the era of luxury STEM education. Imagine telling your teacher your homework is late because your $8,000 space kit was stuck in customs. Meanwhile, public school kids are launching pencil erasers with rubber bands and calling it aerospace engineering. Segment 5, Minot, North Dakota, Squirrel Uprising. Minot, North Dakota is under siege, and not from wildfires or inflation, but from squirrels. Millions of Richardson's ground squirrels burrowing under roads, sidewalks, Air Force bases, and maybe your sense of peace. The infestation is so bad, the city basically admitted it will never win. One official called it one guy standing against a massive storm, which is also how I describe anyone trying to moderate a Facebook comment thread. Even the Air Force has been battling these squirrels for 75 years. I repeat, we can't stop squirrels with military-grade technology. If squirrels ever unionize, we're screwed. This is how it ends, not with a bang, but with 50,000 rodents setting up tunnels under your driveway while you Google squirrel eviction lawyer. Segment 6. Bowser the Tortoise joins the police force. In Sierra Vista, Arizona, meet Officer Bowser, a tortoise, a real one, not a slow-moving officer, though technically that applies too. After being found wandering the streets, Bowser was adopted by the police department and now lives at the station, occasionally helping with community education, officer morale, and, get this, speeding awareness campaigns. Yes, a tortoise is now reminding people to slow down. You can't make this stuff up. It's like having a sloth run your espresso machine or hiring a cat to do customer service. Wait, no, we've done that. It's weird, it's adorable, and it's probably more effective than 90% of traffic signs. Segment 7. Rumble strips now playing Beethoven's Ninth. In the UAE, engineers have turned rumble strips into a roadside symphony. Drive over them at the right speed and they play Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. This is either high art or a really elaborate way to get people to obey speed limits. Either way, your car becomes a musical instrument, assuming you're not driving a 2002 Ford Taurus that can't hit the right pitch. Next up, musical potholes playing Billy Joel and manholes that perform interpretive dance. We've taken one of the most annoying sounds in driving and turned it into culture. It's like if your car alarm recited Shakespeare. Segment 8, the bright green pigeon of Northampton. Let's talk birds, specifically a pigeon in Northampton, England that went full punk rock and dyed itself electric green. No one knows how. Was it a weird mutation, environmental runoff, a prank gone too far? All we know is tourists are flocking, yes, flocking, to see it. Pigeons usually blend into concrete like gray sprinkles on sadness, but this one looks like it got lost on the way to Burning Man. Locals are baffled, scientists are scratching their heads, and somewhere a pet store employee is whispering, "I told them not to sell that neon bird dye." Honestly, this is the most attention England's gotten for a pigeon since Mary Poppins. Segment 9, the rabbit's first pitch, hop, skip, throw. Minor League Baseball, where dreams are made, mascots are weird, and apparently rabbits throw the first pitch. In Reno, a rabbit, yes, an actual rabbit, was the ceremonial first pitcher. Now, it didn't exactly throw the ball so much as hop in its general direction, but honestly, that's more accuracy than I've seen from some pro pitchers this season. Was it adorable? Yes. Was it absurd? Also yes. Did it distract from the team's losing streak? Absolutely. Minor League Baseball is basically America's last refuge for chaos. You haven't lived until you've seen a rabbit upstage the national anthem. Segment 10. Robots play soccer better than people now, apparently. Over in China, humanoid robots are now playing soccer. And fans are saying it's more exciting than watching real people. Let me repeat that. Robots playing soccer. And people like it better. This isn't just science fiction, this is your Roomba going pro. Somewhere, FIFA executives are panicking, and Cristiano Ronaldo just pulled a hamstring trying to emote harder than a Toshiba with LED eyes. What does it say about us that we now prefer watching machines chase balls? Either the robots are getting better or the humans are getting way, way worse. Honestly, it's probably both. Welcome to the future, where even your weekend rec league might get replaced by firmware updates. Segment 11. Bears join the burglary game in California. A woman in California reported her house had been broken into so often, even bears started getting in on it. At a certain point, your neighborhood has so many break-ins that the local wildlife starts thinking, hey, seems easy enough. I mean, when you've been robbed by both man and beast, maybe it's time to consider a moat. Authorities say bears were entering homes in search of food. Translation, we've reached peak human encroachment when bears are treating us like unattended vending machines. I give it 3 months before a possum shows up with a crowbar and a getaway squirrel. Segment 12, the chimney rescue that went nowhere fast. In one of the most cartoonishly human things to happen this week, a man got stuck in a chimney trying to rescue his dog from a locked building. Let's pause. At no point in this plan did he consider calling someone or not doing the Santa Claus approach in July. Firefighters had to be called. And not to save the dog, mind you, the dog was fine. They came to save the man from himself. This is what happens when your emotional attachment to your pet overrides your spatial reasoning. And look, I get it. I love dogs. But if the words "I'll just shimmy through this chimney" ever come out of your mouth, you're already the punchline. Segment 13, surfing dogs. Wipeout, never heard of her. At Huntington Beach, California, it was time for that sacred and noble tradition, dog surfing. These dogs aren't just paddling, they're carving waves, dropping in, and in one case, literally tail whipping a poodle into second place. Top dogs competed in this annual event, proving once again that canines have officially surpassed humans in both vibes and core strength. Forget Tony Hawk, we've got Barky McNarl. And yes, one of them wore goggles. You haven't seen joy until you've seen a bulldog riding a 4-footer with the confidence of a golden god and the balance of someone who's never had to pay rent. Segment 14, the Jigsaw puzzle queen of Washington. In Washington State, a woman earned a Guinness World Record for owning over 4,000 unique jigsaw puzzles. That's right, over 4,000. At that point, you don't just do puzzles, you breathe them. You become them. You dream in interlocking shapes. Her house must look like a kaleidoscope exploded. And God help anyone who tries to borrow her dining room table. It hasn't been visible since Bush was in office. This is either a beautiful obsession or the beginning of a Pixar movie where a puzzle queen builds a map to another dimension. Segment 15, the $1 million dream gut feeling. In North Carolina, a man won $1 million on a scratch-off ticket because he had a dream and a gut feeling. Now, normally, I had a dream and a gut feeling is how you justify texting your ex. But in this case, $1 million. Boom. This is like The Secret meets The Price is Right. Psychic vibes, a gas station, and suddenly you're on the news. He says it came to him in his sleep. Meanwhile, I dreamt I was eating drywall again. Where's my million? Still, this is the kind of story that inspires millions to lose $30 at 7-Eleven. But hey, dare to dream, right? Segment 16, the case of the loose python that wasn't in London. Panic hit a fish and chip shop when someone spotted what they swore was a python. Animal control rushed in, the tabloids got fired up, and it turned out to be a corn snake. Yes, the terrifying python was more like the snake version of a shy librarian. Totally harmless, just trying to order some chips. This is what happens when people watch one too many nature documentaries and suddenly think every wiggly thing is an anaconda. Somewhere Steve Irwin is shaking his head and whispering, "It's just a noodle, mate." Moral of the story, before calling the authorities, maybe Google actual python. Or ask yourself, is this snake trying to eat me or just vibe? Segment 17, milk mayhem in New York. In Columbia County, New York, a milk truck overturned and unleashed a significant spill. Translation, Dairy Armageddon. For a brief, glorious moment, the highway became the world's largest bowl of cornflakes. Local officials said it took hours to clean up. I'm guessing the smell will linger until fall. And somewhere, lactose-intolerant drivers wept from the sidelines, clutching their almond milk. Who knew dairy could shut down a road faster than black ice or a New Jersey driver doing a 3-point turn in a roundabout? Just another reminder, the milk industrial complex is not to be trifled with. Segment 18. The Great Sheep Escape of Oregon. In Beaverton, Oregon, a sheep escaped from its home and went rogue for days, frolicking through backyards and living its best life. Authorities were baffled, locals were delighted, and social media lit up with hashtags like sheep life and mutton madness. Eventually, the sheep was found and returned home, but not before becoming a full-blown neighborhood celebrity. It probably has more Instagram followers than I do now. We all dream of running away from our responsibilities. This sheep actually did it and looked fabulous doing so. Segment 19, Dog on the Tracks, real-life rescue drama. In Queens, New York, a severely malnourished dog was found wandering on elevated train tracks. And in a plot twist that felt straight out of a Pixar movie, NYPD officers staged a dramatic rescue. The dog was rescued, fed, and is now doing better. But let's talk about this image, a dog on train tracks in one of the busiest cities in the world. You think you've had a stressful commute? It's the kind of rescue that makes you believe in humanity again, at least until someone ruins it by playing music without headphones on the subway. Segment 20, Martian Rocks and baby dinosaurs sell for millions. Over at Sotheby's Geek Week auction, the highest bids weren't for art or yachts, but for a chunk of Mars and a juvenile dinosaur skeleton. The Martian meteorite sold for $5.3 million. The baby Ceratosaurus, a cool $30.5 million. Now, I love dinosaurs as much as the next guy, but $30 million? That skeleton better come with its own Netflix docuseries and a laser cannon. And the Martian Rock? That's right, we're now buying space trash like it's vintage Rolexes. Next thing you know, someone's paying $10 million for Neil Armstrong's old gum wrapper. This is the weird world we live in, where fossils outbid Ferraris and rich people decorate their mansions with interplanetary debris. Segment 21. Double lottery win because why not? A man in Massachusetts accidentally bought 2 identical Powerball tickets and, surprise, they both won. That's $1 million, twice, for the same numbers, from the same drawing, by accident. This is the kind of luck that makes the rest of us look at our scratch-offs and mutter, I got 2 free tickets and emotional damage. I don't know what gods he prayed to, but I hope they accept new members. Segment 22. Peacock pandemonium in Pennsylvania. Bucks County, Pennsylvania is currently being terrorized by peacocks. 2 of them escaped, one's been caught. The other, still on the loose, roaming, judging, screeching. Neighbors have described the scene as beautiful and annoying, which also describes most local HOA boards. Animal control's best hope, a trail of birdseed and emotional validation. The whole thing's like if David Attenborough directed an episode of Cops. Segment 23. Airport security? Nah, here's 50. At the Philadelphia airport, a real estate agent threw 50 at a TSA guard and asked if it would let him skip security. And then, wait for it, he actually made it onto the plane. Yes, a grown man tried to bribe his way through security like it was a nightclub in 2002. And it worked. Briefly. He was later arrested, obviously, but it raises an important question. What kind of reality are we living in where a crisp $50 bill gets you further than a boarding pass? My favorite part? TSA's response was, he got away from her. Like this was a high-speed airport chase at gate C-17. Segment 24. Florida AG blames Texas flooding on weather lasers. Florida's Attorney General went full Bond villain this week and suggested the Texas floods were caused by weather modification. That's right. She implied someone, possibly the government, Big Umbrella, was controlling the weather. Experts quickly chimed in to say, no. But the AG doubled down, citing, well, vibes, I guess. This isn't just weird, it's peak Florida, the same state where you can wrestle an alligator, get married on a swamp boat, and now blame Category 4s on science fiction. Segment 25, Raccoon in a can, paramedics to the rescue. In Little Rock, Arkansas, paramedics were called to an emergency. Not a heart attack, not a car crash, a raccoon with its head stuck in a soup can. Now, this raccoon wasn't just stuck, it was committed, full on, I want every last bean in this can energy. And bless these paramedics. They didn't laugh, they didn't say call animal control, no, they went full ER mode and performed the most adorable extraction since Baby Yoda escaped from the stroller. This is the kind of story that gives you hope. Not just for the raccoon, but for humanity, and for soup cans everywhere, which should now come with raccoon warning labels. Segment 26, the Canal Conundrum. Not a body, just a blow-up doll. In California, a 911 caller reported what they thought was a body stuck in a canal. Emergency responders rushed in. It was dramatic. It was tense. It was a blow-up doll. Somewhere between CSI and Toy Story. This isn't even the first time this has happened. Apparently, realistic dolls floating in public waterways is a thing now. Imagine the emotional whiplash. You think you're uncovering a tragedy, and instead it's a latex love toy caught in the grates. I feel bad for the dispatcher who had to log that call. Disposition, not dead, just deflated. Segment 27. Rosebud Sled sells for $14.75 million. Remember Citizen Kane, that black and white movie film students pretend they've seen? Well, the sled, yes, the actual Rosebud Sled, just sold at auction for $14.75 million. That's more than most college stadiums cost. And all for a wooden toboggan used in a fictional flashback. Meanwhile, my childhood sled is still rotting behind my parents' garage, worth exactly $0 and several tetanus shots. Hollywood nostalgia is powerful. Apparently, it's also ridiculously expensive. At this point, someone's going to auction off E.T.'s bicycle seat for the price of a condo. Segment 28. Arkansas man wins $50K twice in 1 month. In one of the most statistically baffling moments of the week, an Arkansas man won $50,000 twice in less than a month from the same scratch-off game. I bought hundreds of scratch-offs. My greatest win? A free ticket and a mild rash. This guy just casually rewrote probability like it was no big deal. I don't know if he's lucky, cursed, or both. If I were him, I'd start sleeping in a vault and checking the sky for anvils. But hey, it's comforting to know that sometimes lightning really does strike twice. Usually in Arkansas with a scratch-off. In conclusion, weird is the new normal. So what did we learn this week? That cities are sinking, coal is out, and rare earth sludge is in. That squirrels can take down power grids and sheep can outwit the suburbs. That peacocks roam free, bears know how to open windows, and raccoons will risk everything for soup. We learned that dogs surf better than most Californians, that Beethoven lives on in highway rumble strips, and that tortoises make excellent cops as long as there's no foot pursuit. And of course, we learned that humans are weird, animals are weirder, and robots might just win the next World Cup. This has been your week in Weird. Stay alert, stay curious, and please, for the love of all that is holy, double check before you call 911 about a body in a canal, because next week's blow-up doll could be yours. Thanks for watching Klepper's Corner. See you next week if the squirrels haven't taken down the power again.